originally there was a layout in here, which was Calvercar Town, and that was designed to go out and about. So that was a little bit smaller than this. And basically it was, it was okay, but it was the first layout I built, and it wasn't perfect. It was designed to fit in an old building that I had, so it was only 16 foot wide in total. And I found that it was a little bit tight, 4 to 4'6" curves. It didn't really lend itself to modern image, kit built modern image at the time, as opposed to factory built, because you were having to elongate couplings, etc., to get things around corners, etc., etc. So I think basically it was a kind of spur on from that, wanting to make my life a bit easier, avoid having to pick up trains every 5 minutes that had come off the track. I've always wanted a shed, so I built the shed and got Joe's permission on the proviso that we got married. So she won that one. I wanted the shed that badly. No, I'm only joking, but yeah, I'm lucky enough to have it indoors, and I know there's arguments for outdoor railways, etc. But again, a lot of people tell me that they spend the first couple of months rewiring it because the birds have pecked their wires. There's a lot more track cleaning. I didn't really want to go radio control. DCC was my thing. So yeah, having a shed. And I think the key for me was I realised that with an ageing fraternity around me, taking layouts to exhibitions wasn't really going to happen anymore.
Was this the first layout you built in this shed?
No, because Calvercar Town 3 months before Wally was baseboards. So you need a deadline. Calvercar Town got finished because originally that was just an end-to-end, and then I put fiddle yard on the back and corners, etc. So that was a add-on, which doesn't really work in modelling. You have to start afresh and plan it right, which this one did. So this got planned in a Toby Carvery or some such place down near Mike Perry's in Devizes, with Dave Lowry drawing on a beer mat.
What was the inspiration for the design?
A figure of 8 underneath, and that's how it started. And that was, anybody that's ever been to Dave Lowry's, he's got 2 figures of 8. You don't have to touch a train, and the reasoning was you avoid bits falling off. It doesn't happen in practice, but that was the theory behind it. But I think total versatility was the key. Being able to have a train set that you can do absolutely anything with was the driver, and this is what you've got here now.
Was it a challenge to come up with that design?
The figure of 8 bit was easy. I think the challenge for this whole layout was understanding some of the things that I'd never done before. Inclines and curves. The argument, is there too much track, is there not enough track? Making compromises, 10 coach trains versus 7 coach trains, all of those kind of things. And actually I built the whole thing in 2 years. So I started in lockdown, and it's kind of evolved, because when I put the track down, I didn't want to take it up again. It doesn't work in practice. There's a couple of extensions I want to put on it at the moment, but it's just trial and error and finding something that's aesthetically pleasing.
Obviously the layout's still under construction. How do you sum up where you've got to with the construction at the moment?
So it's running. All the points are working, all the digital infrastructure is in, and for a couple of years I'm pretty pleased with where we got to. I've broken the back of the station that you'll see. A lot of the main infrastructure is in place, and you're starting to see little bits evolve, because what I want to do is be able to sit in 8 different places and see 8 different layouts. That's the key here, as opposed to coming through the door and seeing everything which you do at the moment. Time you get high buildings, trees, etc., you're going to have to go to a different place to see trains coming through a different aspect.
So how long before the scenery would be complete, do you reckon?
Well, if I was retired, I don't know. If I could have, the lion's share of it done within 12 months, that would be great. And when I say lion's share, I think if you get a layout to 80% done, you can then spend the rest of your life doing the other 20%, putting the odd little cat, fox, those kind of things. So, but it's taken me 3.5 months to build 3 platforms. So, and on the basis that the whole top level is going to have overheads, is a fair job to go yet.
Tell us about how you're going to control the layout.
So, train controller gold is something I've been working with for a long time, and really what I want to be able to do is I like train controller gold to set routes, to be able to set the signals, do all of that for me relatively easily. It gives you the ability to walk around the shed using iPad or equivalent to be able to kind of sit in that location I talk about and pull up your trains from wherever you want. Automation, there's the ability to put automation on the layout. I think DCC is what I enjoy, and the kind of applications that spin off it. I'm no expert, and you sitting behind the camera get phone calls from me all the time, but that's the principle behind it. It's if I want to play, I can play. If I want to watch, I can watch. So there's 5 running tracks. There's 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom level, and then there's I call it the up and down, but there is another circuit that can run up and down. So when I say up and down, top level, bottom level, not one end to another end. So you can have 5 trains running. There's the ability to store 13, 16, 18 7-coach trains on the layout and not see them. So there's all hidden storage underneath. So actually, if I want to play trains, I can. There's a couple of little areas that I've specifically put together to shunt trains, depot, so I can just play depot, or mainline running. And some of the things with it, because the top will be overheads and the bottom's not, you've got the ability to run an electric in, take the electric off, put a diesel on, take it down the bottom, hide it, bring it back. So again, it will do pretty much every good bit of every layout I've seen. I've always wanted decent sized trains, and really, what's my era? It's that kind of growing up 15 to 25. So it was, for me, fortunately, the colourful period of the railways. For those that enjoyed the kind of 85 to 95, and it's really, I want to see stuff that I saw then. Loosely based on Great Eastern, I think the ability to be creative and a little bit poetic license is also on the layout. So you're not going to get 100% accuracy on this layout. It's kind of what my brain remembers. Busy stations. Where was I? I was at Euston. I was at Ipswich. I was at Colchester. So you saw freight running through at speed. You had local services, you had intercity services, you had cross-country services. I had first generation DMUs, the advent of the Sprinter and the Pacer. Even to the point where you started to touch on privatisation in the early 95. So little Voyager might have found its way about. So a bit of everything really. So what I wanted was that busy station. Always seemed to be a depot just off the station wherever I was. So Cardiff, Ipswich, Norwich, everything was stabled around it. So hence the depot that I've put next to the station. and just to recreate some of the things you saw, taking off electrics at Ipswich because it hadn't run any further, putting diesels on, it's things like that I wanted to incorporate. And I just love the noise. Hence DCC. I know it's you either love it or you hate it. But if you can hear people talking in the shed, I've done a bad job. I do like a busy junction, and to be able to see trains and thinking, where are they going? So if you've got the section here which is with the signal box, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 different possibilities, and it's just that, I wonder where that's come from. Before real-time trains and any kind of digital access to the railway, you always thought, what train's that? Where's that been? You had to wait for the head code to come through, or the the destination blind. I want that kind of reliving of my youth. And what you get, I think, although it's countrified, a lot of my reference points are London. So you've got girder bridges, you've got high retaining walls, you've got grotty brickwork. It's all that kind of thing. And the mix and match that you got is not one consistent overhead on the Great Eastern. Sorry, Ken. But there's round posts, there's square posts. There's different arms. There's gantries, it's just to spark those little memories. I've never solely wanted to build a depot layout. I think it's nice to be able to have one in situ, which I have. Why? Because as I said before, I think I want to be able to do anything I can with this layout. So if you keep all your stock out, you've got the ability to do that. I find stock gets more damaged taken in and out of boxes and storing it than it does sitting on the layout. So what you've got is, this has come out of my days of getting around Bescot, going to Saltley. Dad and I would depot spot over a weekend. We'd have a dozen depots in 2 days. 1,000 miles driven. It's that kind of thing that I wanted to recreate, and the depot building itself, loosely and very loosely, is my vision of Saltley. I used to hang around that fence there. There was the through shed, maintenance shed. The office buildings weren't located next to it; they're a bit further. But it's that kind of, it sparks that little memory for me, and just to see the locos coming in, being worked on, refuelling. So even carriage washer. Loco washer, to get that kind of detail in, it's everything I remember. You'll find that there's little bits of places across the UK finding its way into every aspect of it. Where was I out there? I remember Immingham, used to be at Immingham, used to be Scunthorpe, Barnetby. I know that's not North East for anybody North East standing around here, that's Lincolnshire. But as I got further up there, Sunderland docks I think were even there when I was spotting. It was just heavy industry whenever we went up north. You didn't see that down south, right? Greenfields, but heavy industry is always, I've loved it. It's noisy, it's filthy, it's polluting, but actually, it's different from what we were used to. So the dream and the idea is that will bang, crash, flash. I'll have steel trains that I remember coming through Immingham and Barnetby, coming through York, heavy coal trains, ore trains, steel trains. Yeah. Why? Because you can have really noisy, horrible, dirty diesels on the front, double-headed. Thornaby's of this world. Yeah, that's that. There's a little bit of a country station. I think you also need sort of countryside. You need a bit of countryside. An ode to getting married to Joe. I wanted a little church scene up on a hill. A little bit poetic, romanticism, if that's a word. A little bit of country over in the corner. And then you've got a bit of everything. You've got out of town, you've got industry. Yeah, I don't think you can want more.